Okay, hopefully the silliest of yesterday is behind us. We can get on to business. Happy, what's today? Wednesday. And I know it's Wednesday because this is Lone Wolf Wednesday. If you recall last week, I think it was on Wednesday, I did a kind of Lone Wolf stream with a conversation with Daniel from Escape about running a solo game. And he really got me energized into thinking about doing a more sort of open sandbox style game. And I really just kind of got motivated to work on that, but it's going to take some doing to get done. So I thought we could spend this time, or I will spend this time, hopefully, with you out there as well, putting together, starting to think about the kind of tools to use to make this happen. Um, you may be, hopefully I don't have any audio video difficulties at the moment. Let me know. Yesterday hopefully it was just an oddity and not a normal thing. I downloaded the new version of Mythic, and thanks to patrons and all those patrons and folks who have bought stuff from me on itch, and folks who have used my drive-through links, because I happen to have money in the account. I didn't have to go out of pocket to pick up the next version or the new edition of Mythic. I've not even looked at it. The most I've done was downloaded it and then dragged and dropped it into my whiteboard here. So I will probably do some kind of video, maybe going through it specifically and taking a look. But I do intend to use it here. I got the good old-fashioned ready reference sheets. I have the physical copy. I think I did buy this copy from drive-through when it was available. It's not anymore for reasons you can look up. I happen to have them. A good alternative to this, which I might use in tandem, I just have to find and download it, would be the D30 Sandbox Companion. Will be another good one if you are interested in these kinds of tabular tools, but don't want to support the folks who now own the rights to the Ray reference sheets, which I totally get. I also have these OD&D books, which I think I will use as the basis. I think I'm going to use OD&D, following in kind of Daniel's idea, which I also dig. But I do have the good old 1E DMG because it's got a lot of resources in there. It fleshes out a lot of stuff that they did not flesh out originally. I'm just going to move some of these around so I can pop them open bigger. Where are we going here? Now, none of these rules, I don't think, have any kind of built-in solo variants. So we're going to be figuring that out, how we're going to do it. And there's going to be a few elements that we're going to need to deal with. So the nice thing about Dragonbane, so I guess kind of not to put a wrapper on Dragonbane, because I may come back to it and finish it out. Sometimes you just got to feel like you just got to follow where your heart is. And my heart was thinking like, man, I really want to do this. And, I felt like, well, I could do a couple more weeks of Dragonbane and then pivot. But then I thought, my energy, my mind is kind of coming here. So let's do this. Let's get this set up. In one thing that Dragonbane did well is it had, oops, I don't know what's going on. Mythic, what happened to you? What happened to you, Mythic? Did the editor just go wonky? Okay, it looks like it's coming back. One of the nice things that Dragonbane had is because it had a solo mode made for it, it could give you a lot of very specific targeted tools and mechanics for running the game, which was nice. You didn't need anything else. I didn't need to buy Mythic or have a Mythic type thing already on hand because Dragonbane had all that stuff. Maybe especially when talking to Daniel and really getting sort of interested in running like a real hex crawl sandbox campaign, is that the scope of the Dragonbane solo, at least if I'm going to play that kind of by the book solo, it's pretty narrow. You're going into this specific space, you're doing kind of specific things, and then you're sort of playing through the story. Now, the story could be kind of cool, but it's not necessarily your story in a way. It's It's more like what the system is giving you, where you have these parameters. And now, granted, and maybe that's something we'll do coming back to it, is getting more into the guts of it and coming up with our own things, maybe leaving a deep fall breach and doing all these things. Now, I don't know too much about the Dragonbane setting, so that's another thing where I was feeling a little bit like, man, I just don't know that much about this, and that I don't have a great handle on the mechanics and the lore and everything of that world, where I felt like, well, if I come to something and maybe just specifically, hey, let's set up something from scratch, then we can kind of handle all that, and then we can sort of, we'll be in this world that we will understand because it's ours. Frederick wants us to play a cleric or an elf, but make it a thief magic user. Well, I don't think I'm going to get to a character right away, because I feel like there's so right now we have a blank board. We have no hexes. We have no hex map. We have no setting implied or otherwise. We don't even really have any mechanics. Maybe, I don't think I have Hexographer on this computer. I think I only have it on my laptop. So I can't pull that up. I know. Let's see. I'm wondering where to start. We could start with generating the map, because I think the thing is I'm going to do is just generate a random map that hopefully looks pretty good. I wonder if I go to Reddit. I know that. Let's see. I know that Reddit has, what's it called? I think it's RPG generators, which has all kinds of stuff. So we can see what kind of, let me see. Yeah, limit my search. Yes, this is good. No, nothing. Here we go. Quick hex map generator. I want something that'll actually generate. What does HexTML give us? Ooh, what's that there? Oh, I remember this. We looked at this before. I just don't know what these symbols mean. Hey, null terminated. Oh, cool. Rapping Athuk with Mythic. Well, I just, in case you missed null terminated, I did download the second edition of Mythic, though I have done nothing with it other than open it in my whiteboard. So I'm excited to get into that. New update. You can still use the old version. We've made a contest. I don't think so. I just really want to know what these symbols are, but I'm afraid that if I touch it, I'm going to paint. Okay, let's move it off of here. What's this? What is this thing? What is it? I don't know. All right, what other tools do we have? I just want something. What's this one? Let's see what this one is. I just really want something. Click to generate a new world. Oh, okay, that's interesting, but it doesn't give me a hex. I know there's some really good hex tools. I mean, this one, HexTML, is not a bad tool either. It's just not quite what I want. Oh, let's see. Full list. And I know we looked at some of these specifically. I would have done this myself. Like I said, in Worldographer, I just don't have it installed, and I probably could have installed it, in advance of this, but I literally didn't think about it until just a second, because I think I imagined I'd start in another spot. Let me just see if there's, what do we have here? Hex world generator. What's this? Okay, here we go. This might work. All right, so I like this. We've got, what is this? Cities, roads. I don't think I need borders. I think I'd rather make my own borders. Hey, Ryan Smith. Thanks for hanging out. All right, I don't think I need borders. Roads is fine. Settlements are fine. I don't know what some of these things do. What's biome offset? Oh, that's interesting. I kind of liked having a little bit of farmland, but maybe that's better. This is interesting. So you get these 3 settlements just bang, bang, bang. What looks like this just must be a mistake is instead of putting this on one road, they've got 2. And then look, you got these wackadoo, woo, roads like crisscrossing like a highway system. And you would think there'd be something here. If there is these weird crossroads, you'd think they'd be there. All right, so okay, so I'm gonna do something. Let's road simplification threshold. Yeah, can I make that? I don't know, is that more? There we go. Yeah, I just want a few roads. Why? What is this? What's a dashed road versus a... This is really interesting because there's nothing here. All right, I guess I'm going to leave that. I want to reduce the numbers of cities pretty drastically. Oh, look at that. Okay, so, oh yeah, of course, if I reduce the number of cities, it's reducing them. Reduce the number of towns. So I probably want to reduce the number of cities. Oh, interesting. But then let's increase the number of towns. So are towns the full dots or the... Which ones are towns? If I bump up cities a lot, cities must be the full circles, right? Oh my gosh. Whoa, crazy town. Oh, that's pretty good. This is still weird. Maybe I'll just have to get rid of the city. Get rid of get rid of the roads. I think just get rid of the roads, right? Hey, Squirrel Hermit. Get rid of the roads because it's just confusion. Yeah, and then bump up the number of towns. That might be too much. Why is it thinking there'd be a town up here? I mean, I guess there could be. All right, we're going to go this. One thing that's interesting, and I have no idea how they figured this out, but I like it, is that the towns have tended to be on the water. Not always. This one's inland, and so is this one, but maybe we could carve that out as, call that kind of farmland country. Brian Smith says, where we're going, we don't need roads. Very good. You have these cities up here are interesting because you'd think I want to push them over. What I think what I'll probably gonna do is I'll grab this. Ooh, I can export all these things individually. What I'm gonna do, I'll probably just grab this and then we'll have to monkey around with this. This is what this is what I think is interesting. Now, I know that the approach for some things is to generate all your hexes from scratch as you go, but I don't really feel the need to do that. And the reason why I don't feel the need to do that is, number one, and maybe there was some time in human history, I mean, obviously there was, where we literally knew nothing about what's 30 miles away, right? What is one hex over? We have no idea. But really, that wasn't the case, right? You think about Rome. Oh, Rome's come across they've gotten to the Rhine, and it's all dark, scary forest and Germanic warriors beating their chests, right? And oh, it's mystery. But it wasn't a complete mystery because tradesmen and other enterprising folks had been crossing the Rhine and trading and, getting wine and trading wine to the Germans or the different folk over there and coming back. Like, people were moving. It just was that the government had, maybe Rome at large, back in Rome, was like, oh my gosh, this is across this space, we know nothing. But that wasn't really the case. So in the same way, I'm still okay with the fact like, oh, there's mountains here that I'm aware of vaguely, sure, but I don't know any of this country. I just know that there are mountains out there. People have gone there. I mean, in this case, there are towns and things out here, but there's plenty of unknown or spaces because it's the unknown is not necessarily in the macro sense of I don't know what this continent I'm on is, as much as it is in the micro sense of, yeah, sure, I know that, oh, over there on the other side of the Silk Road is China, where we could get silk and gunpowder, among other things. But in between there, oh gosh, the horrors on the steppes, and oh, if only Prester John and his goodly, Christian kingdom would save us, whatever, that kind of stuff, right? So you can have both. So I know a lot of folks get into the, oh, I'm going to generate each hex as I go, but I don't know that I find that the best use of our time. Not to say it's good or bad. I think it could be fun to do, and maybe I'll do it at some point. But I think all this does is gives us a very broad brush of, oh, there are whatever out here. We'll still be generating any kind of text details if there are layers and dungeons or anything in all these spaces. We still know, but we can also know that this town doesn't feel like they're alone in the universe. There are other cities or larger towns, other things. Now, what I was trying to get to is getting more small towns and reducing the number of these, what I would think maybe for me would be capitals. But I'm finding a hard time tweaking it to a number that I like. So here we just get a bunch, but then the number of cities I want down. But what I can't tell what divides. I guess a city have the circles. All right, so these must be cities. So it must be, because I don't see a I don't see a key, and I'm trying to remember my classic key symbol. So city, walled city. Would this be, yeah, like capital, kind of walled city, walled town, or does this be town, walled? I'm not sure. If you have a better memory over these things than I do, let me know. Oh, look at these. They put some in the water. There must be some interesting little islands out here. But I can't tell. I can't tell what that means. Let's show hexes. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, show the numbers. Or, of course, we could do that and then figure out our settlements for ourselves. And I guess we can have all of them because we can keep these overlays. So let me... The rivers. This is a weird river. I kind of would like to... because I kind of like this shape. But these rivers, it just goes to the lake, and the lake doesn't... I'll have to fix some of these. My feeling is I'll have to fix it. So I think what I will do is I'm just going to... let me turn off the hexes. Or sorry. No, turn on. Well, and keep the hex borders on. Turn those on. I'm just going to show everything, even though it's going to get crazy. And then what I'll do later is I'll probably refine this in Worldographer, where I can take this, dump it in, pretty much just convert it to Worldographer. It's almost there anyway. And then I can tweak with some stuff. So I'll just save. I'll save this to solo hex map v1. Okay. Now I think maybe, can I copy this image and paste it right in? Nope, that did not work. Downloads. Did it not download? What you talking about, Windows? Why are you doing this to me? Okay, there we go. All right, so at least we have this. We have a starter map. This will not be final, but we've got it. We can refine this later. And the other thing we can do, by the way, is we can refine this as we go. This just gives it, we can just call this our base. And then if we want to use some kind of fine tune it through generating hexes as we go, that's fine. And we can think about, well, what is the known areas for these people? Can have some fun with that. Have some fun with that. I'm not married hard and fast to anything, really. So there we're starting. Okay, so we've got that. Shall we look at Mythic real quick? Mythic, this must be a big book because I feel like it's continually having issues here in this little reader widget, which may not be. I love the fact that I can dump PDFs in here, but I'm wondering if it's the best. Or is it getting stuck? Did I open up Mythic in here already? I did not. So let's. Okay, it is big. Okay, so maybe that's it. So maybe I'll have to. Let's see if I can get a smaller version. How big is it? Just out of curiosity. It's 41 megs. Yeah, probably doesn't need to be that big, but we got it. All right. Mythic, your role-playing game partner. I don't want to turn this into a Mythic stream. I guess I'll go into this later. The other thing I wanted to look at, does anyone remember? Daniel mentioned it. I'm just going to close that. Daniel mentioned it. I can't remember. Where he did that. There was this mapper. I'm really interested in the mapper. This concept of, I guess he said he was in a game in which there was this. He saw it in a game which there was a specific class that got some sort of bumps or some abilities unlocked when they were going out by themselves, as not as part of a party. And one of the things that I guess the point of this class was to go out and essentially find new locations, find them and come back. And I guess Daniel took this class and adapted his game where he has a mapper phase, which is the folks who go out, find out where dungeons and lairs are, and then bring that information back. And depending on I think looking at the treasure, the amount of treasure that's in this particular dungeon would be the price of the maps. Right? I think that's how it worked. Now, I don't know that I feel like I need to have a whole dungeon. Oh, they're all okay. So thanks, Null Terminate. On the tip, the back of the book has a bunch of all the charts. I don't know that I want to have, or I need a specific, or want to have a specific mapper phase where I'm playing that part, because he's actually using, I think he's using outdoor survival rules for the mapper phase. And then for the main party phase, they're using OD&D/chainmail. I don't know that I don't know they need to do that. I'll have to look at the outdoor survival. I think the actual rules. I have the copy of outdoor survival. I have the box. It's in another room, but I have it. But I don't think I have a PDF of the rules. I could probably look that up. Look that up at another time in terms of what to use for the survival part. But I guess I'm wondering, I like the concept of the mapper or some mechanic that's going to work similarly to the mapper, but maybe not have a specific kind of class, if that makes sense. Does it make sense? Hello, clown. But that can be something we can also. I mean, that's kind of what this stream is about, really, is doing all this kind of futzing around and figuring out what I need or what I want for the specific situation. I did happen to find the outdoor survival rules, so I will copy those over in a moment so we can kind of check them out. And, if you guys who are currently playing a solo game, especially if it's a solo game of this kind of type, and you have a set of rules and guidelines that you think are good, shoot them on over to me. wonder if we need, so let's set up a list here for our procedures. Kind of the general things that we're doing. So we're going to have, and this is presuming we're not already on an adventure. I guess maybe we should probably we should probably define our terms too, right? Let me get another list. This is where I really like having the whiteboard, is being able to terms. Okay, so we're talking about adventure is one foray from a safe location, camp, town, etc. All right, I guess an encampment, and not a camp like your overnight camp, but if you actually had some kind of permanent to a dangerous location and back again. So that's what we're going to call an adventure. And this is something that was implied. It's implied in rules like BX. When you look at things, they don't say specifically that's what an adventure is, but then when you read stuff in the older books, and it'll say, in between adventures or kind of whatever adventures, and then you'll start to get the sense of the fact that if they mean a whole module, if they mean a whole kind of mini campaign, then that's way too long. Well, you can do this kind of in between adventures. It's like, what? How I can memorize my spells or this thing like in between adventures? Like, what? That's crazy. But it makes more sense when you think about the fact that you were supposed to be coming back to town. You go from the town, you travel some distance, but it doesn't have to be that far, into a dungeon, muck around in the dungeon, you come back. That's an adventure. And then at the end of the adventure, you can do things like, oh, you're back in town, square up with as far as loot and treasure and experience points goes. Then you'll be back at your home, so you can then study your spell book, all these kinds of things, because you weren't necessarily supposed to do things like take your spell books into dungeons. That really, it was more or less understood that your spell book's kind of staying back in the safe place. You're going out, and then when you come back, generally kind of within a day or so, is, oh, okay, now you come back and do your, write new spells or prepare new spells. Or I suppose, copying new spells in your book if you found some scrolls, things like that. Which is another reason why scrolls are a really interesting resource in these old games, because you could be in a spot where, like, man, I got this really badass scroll and I'd love to copy it in my spell book, but we're in the middle of the dungeon. Do I burn it now because we could use it, but then it's gone, or do I hold back and hope we can get back to town to do the thing, to write it, to put it as part of my spell book, and therefore have it to cast or at least to memorize later on. Dews says nothing is bested Mythic 2E for their solo play. Okay, cool. Well, I do have the Mythic book. I've got it. I downloaded it. I've opened it over here, but I don't think I actually ready to dig into it yet, because we're not at the point. I'm not even close to where I'm likely to be asking questions. So I'm not there yet, but I did grab it. It's a little bit too big. I pulled it into the whiteboard, but it keeps kind of crashing or really slowing down the PDF container. So I'm going to have to figure it out. Predator 6, I need the Scarlet Heroes Hexcrawl Overland rules. Well, we'll see. We'll see. I'm happy to look at them. I think I have Scarlet Heroes somewhere, unless that's a different supplement. I think I have Scarlet Heroes. Oh, and I don't think I mentioned this, but I'm drinking, what is this? Mint green tea Spindrift for the working man. I might have Scarlet Heroes. I can check on that, but if I don't, I'm happy to fetch it at some point. Is it part of the main book? Let me know. Is it a separate supplement? Sin nomine. I'm just looking at Stars, Worlds, Scarlet Heroes, Atlas of Letter Earth. Red Tide and Echo Resounding. I think they just have the one book. Oh, no, they got a quick start. All right. One thing is, I don't think I'm going to be Scarlet Heroesing or otherwise amping up my PCs. I will probably run a team, maybe with some kind of captain. Frederick says there's a decent overland hex inside the ready reference sheets. Yeah, there's some stuff. I mean, I don't need the hexes themselves. Whoops. Can you let me click in here? I don't need the overland hexes, though they have. I think they might actually have a hex sheet in here, I think. Or maybe not. Well, they definitely have it in the, and I have this book, Campaign Hexagon System, somewhere. So maybe they don't have actual hex sheets. The thing is with the ready reference sheets, as much as I enjoy them, they're just a bit of a bear to use. I always have to try to remind myself how the tables work, because you'll find tables that reference other tables, but they're not super clear on that score. They're not necessarily placed in an order that makes it clear that you're going, 1, 2, 3. If you remember when we created that demon last week and we were running through the tables in Appendix B, I mean, not that Appendix B of the first edition DMG is some kind of should be the exemplar for wonderful logical layout and design, but it was pretty darn clear. It's like, hey, here's step 1, here's step 2, here's step 3. And if it didn't, it had the parts labeled. So you go, oh, here's head, then here's torso, then here's, whatever. It was kind of clear. Ready reference sheets, you'll find stuff where it's like, oh, this is that thing. And you kind of just have to intuit that, oh, there's going to be another table. Maybe it's on the next page. Maybe it's 2 pages away. That's going to be like the thing that you're supposed to follow up on, but they don't say anything. So it can be really unclear. So I feel like I always have to go through and re-educate myself, readjust myself, do a lot of flipping back and forth to be like, oh yeah, now I remember, this is how it works. And even then, sometimes I'm not sure, because I never had anybody, never had an expert, never had a ready reference sheet professional. I never went on a course how to read the ready reference sheets to tell me rather how these things were supposed to work. But it is very detailed, though. It is not at all verbose. It's very plain. But the D30 companion booklets are, I mean, they're better design, which makes sense. They're newer, so we've had a lot of experience in design and such since then. So procedures. So we're going to have, the first will be, this is assuming we're in town, I guess. So we'll determine the, I guess, available adventure locations if necessary. In other words, we don't have any. This might be a rumor table type situation, rumor table roles, rumor table entry generator, perhaps the purchasing of map fragments. Then we will gather the team. So we'll look at the look over the roster and select the characters who are available and able to adventure. And this will also be buy supplies, engage hirelings, etc. And then we'll go so then we will move transit to adventure site. And we'll be using probably some combination of OE, outdoor survival, some other house rules, which we will have to determine. And then, yeah, and then it'll be Delve the adventure site, right? Delve adventure site. That'll just be, you know, classic dungeon crawling. Random dungeon layout, populations and loot. And then we could return to town. Transit back to safety. Okay. So here's our play loop in very broad strokes. We will determine the available adventure locations. Maybe we'll do some random table of rumors, or we could purchase map fragments. I like the concept that Daniel spoke of, that the map fragments. So rumors are essentially, we can probably roll some dice or figure out how much it costs to get some rumors, which would be mostly in, I think in the fiction would be some amount of your buying drinks in the local tavern to kind of loosen tongues, and you know, sliding some silver or copper across to their bartender or whatever, buying some old timer a jug of ale, and then they kind of spill the beans on something. That would be rumors. So they're cheap. Rumors are cheap, but like Daniel pointed out, they're also likely to be wrong, potentially in some great detail. So we have to understand that rumors are cheap and you get what you pay for, basically. Whereas if you take an adventure or you buy a map fragment, we're going to presume that the map fragment is fairly accurate in general terms, in terms of the value that it has there, in terms of where the place is, more or less. Doesn't have to be exact, but it's going to be in the ballpark. So you absolutely can count on a little bit more. Brian Smith says, can we fill out a rumor table on the forum? Absolutely. I definitely want to use the forum and other tools that I can get to engage folks, you folks, in helping me do all this. I mean, one of the advantages, or maybe the only advantage, because doing this on stream, I apologize in advance. It's not going to be as smooth as, say, watching somebody do a video, or if I were to just record this and then cut it into a video where I can cut out a lot of the like and uhs and oh, what am I doing, and but the advantage is that we can get real-time collaboration. So you folks are going to be in this thing with me and can act as filling in stuff, complicating stuff. I'd love to be able to get more tools in terms of stream and having things like vote and polls and things like that. And when I can figure out the kind of tools that I can use, how to integrate them, I absolutely will. And yes, the forums will be a big part of this, because that's where you can do a lot of the back and forth and collaborating between streams while we're sort of offline. Yeah, I'd be happy to, Brian Smith. We could do is make meta solo play stuff, and we could come up with probably just big amounts of rumors and just all kinds of stuff, and then I could roll dice and do things. But yes, absolutely, the forums will be a big part of that. And like I said, I'll make a thread, because I'll also be putting in, with the rules that I decide to use and other things, all that kind of sorts of stuff I will put on the forums so we can share it. And it would be cool also if anybody wants to kind of, I'll put a lot of this stuff out there too, so that if folks want to go on their own adventures in sort of a shared space, that we can. We're going to use Mythic, right? Mythic is going to be our, at least for the moment. Right? You have my pen. Excellent. No, I didn't mean, or I guess I can put this here. Settle up loot. Yeah, settle up loot, etc. Assuming we survive. Okay. Okay, so this is our basic dealio. We are going to need a starting location. That is one thing. So I know I'm going to end up adding in house rules and things like that, but I think just to start, I'm just happy to go with OD&D, the basic, your basic classes and whatnot. I'm not going to generate the characters today. We'll do that. Maybe I'll do that in the forums. Maybe we can do that in the next week. I'm trying to think of, I really want to, what the sort of the idea behind this stream, what I'm trying to accomplish is kind of getting that foundation down. So we have our generic hex map, which I will probably adjust and we'll sort of tweak that up a little bit. Maybe I'll do it as a stream, maybe not. And you folks, let me know if you like that stuff. I've tweaked. You folks who've watched, who are regulars into the streams, have seen me go in and sit there and tweak around with hex maps. I don't know if that's fun and exciting for anybody. I'm happy to do it on stream. I'm also happy to not do it on stream to save folks that like me, like going, oh, then kind of doing this and that and this, that, and the other kind of thing. So I'm happy to either do that or not do that, as the case may be. I'm wondering where's the best, if we were going to generate our hometown, what the best thing for that would be. Because I'm really not sure. Yeah, Brian Smith says they love iterating on the same hex app, enriching them. Absolutely. I think it's really useful, but it's also, I totally get that it's not something necessarily people are like, yeah, let's go watch this guy iterate on this stream. Oh yeah, like I get it. It's not particularly exciting, right? Let's just, I suppose we could say that. I think that would be a safe statement. Not necessarily the most exciting thing. And I get that. I am very I'm very mindful of that. 1E Wilderness. I'm just looking at some resources here. What is this? Oh, those wilderness encounter tables. Oh yeah, that one that we found. Oh yeah, I remember this now. Ryan Smith says, behind the scenes stuff is always entertaining, though. If it's content that will be played, eventually I'd go along with it. Okay. All right. Well, Brian Smith has spoken. If you out there have a thought, and it could totally be the opposing thought, happy to hear that as well. But I'm also happy, like I said, I'm happy to do it. Sometimes the thing is that's nice with the with doing the stuff on the stream is that it forces me to do it, if that makes sense. That might not make any sense, but what it is that I have a stream. I say I'm going to do it. I schedule the stream. I start the stream. Then it's like, great, I have to do it. Otherwise, it could be something that I might, fiddle faddle around and go, do I want to do it? Do I not want to do it? But once you kind of get it in the stream, get it sort of locked in there, so to speak, it energizes me anyway to actually be like, oh yeah, I gotta get this done. I'm gonna get this done because I gotta get it done because folks are sitting here staring at me on the promise of getting it done. Noel Timmerman says, I've always enjoyed watching other people go through the process and learn tricks they use to make their games work. Cool. Well, I don't have any tricks yet. Hopefully I'll be developing tricks. I'm kind of hoping to steal tricks from you guys. if there are any tricks to be had. Now, in terms of, okay, so I don't want to get into Mythic yet. I'm trying to think like what. So we're going to rumor entry tables. So the rumor tables will probably be some version of Mythic. Forum integration, where I can look at the forum. Map fragments, I'll have to figure out the procedure for map fragments. Gathering the team, I'll generate a roster, so that's fine. Supplies, I'll grab some by the book supplies, BX, DMG, something, the PHB 1E, something that's got a bunch of supply things. I'm not expecting anything crazy. We're going to have to do the populating our wilderness bits. So we'll need, I almost think like, let's see, maybe I'll just make it to-dos. What do we need to do? To do. What is going to be our hex populating? What is our hex? I'm okay kind of making this ourselves. Not sure how it'll look. You guys have any great things? What are you guys using? I guess the one thing I'll look in Mythic. Does Mythic have something that would give me? I might have to just make some of my own kind of Mythic type tables. So we got these. We're looking at these Mythic things, and I'm not, like I said, I don't want to go into detail now on the Mythic stuff. I'll come back to these later. Brian Smith says map fragments populate hexes like you had a landmark or something. I mean, definitely map. So, that's an interesting. So, do the map fragments? Do we generate the map fragments and then they generate the terrain? Now, that's an interesting idea. That's an interesting idea. All right. So, what is our? So I like that. I like that idea a lot, actually, because that kind of allows us to kill two birds with one stone. All right, so we'll through map fragments, because even if we don't end up, because the thing is that even if we don't end up buying the map fragment, the existence of the map fragment then kind of tells us about the terrain, even if we don't end up doing it. So there's 3 map fragments. One goes north, one goes east, one goes west, just as an example. And we decide to buy the one that goes north. We still have those other ones. Now, the one tricky thing will be with generating them is kind of where they're like. The one thing is that we don't want them to be contradicting each other. So that might have to be, we might have to think about that kind of, where they start, where they finish. That might be, it's probably worth coming up with some kind of system for this. So let's do a map fragment. Map fragment generator. So just right. So quickly, so we're going to do is we're going to write the starting location is, wherever, is at, let's just, actually, hold on, is 1d4 minus 1 hexes. How do we figure out the starting location? I was going to say the starting location is just where you buy the hex, right? The map shows you from you to the hex. I guess that's just makes sense, right? The starting location is where the map is where the map is sold. Found may be a different matter. I might have to adjust these, but let's just get something down first. Null terminus says they use a terrain-dependent table to define legs of a journey through that terrain. What is that? Null terminated. I like that, but I need more. What is the leg of a journey, and what kind of stuff is in your terrain-dependent table? Tell me more, null terminated. Or if you're on the forums, you can go to forums.hex.press and post it there. But I'd love to hear more about that, because that sounds like something I could certainly use. Should just have the endpoint. Well, you need to have, I figured, well, so when I think of the treasure map, maybe I'm thinking in the treasure map like you find in a, so here's how I'm thinking of treasure maps, the way they work for me, right? Because I'm not going to be drawing these out necessarily. So it's something that's mechanical, right? So the treasure map is going to show a starting point. This is the, like, if you're looking at the, like an old pirates map, right? Oh, here, and then tick, 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 something else from here somewhere to the end point. And I think the reason why, now this is, maybe this is me overcomplicating things, but the reason why I'm thinking of that is this gives you kind of a context. It's X amount of hexes away from wherever you are. If I was playing a game with a party, I might give them just a piece of the map that just shows here's where the destination you want to go is, but maybe doesn't even show where the rest of the map is, and then you know, tease it out, or they could find other clues. But for our purposes, I'm going to assume that these are maps, kind of like that mapper, as if we were using a mapper who's gone and kind of mapped their way there and back, that we have the context of somewhere. Because the idea I was thinking of is the context starts somewhere, but maybe not where you start. Like it might be, I keep using the Superstition Mountains sort of Lost Dutchman mine as an example, but the idea is the map, the first location on the map is the stone that looks like an old man's face. So that would be where you start, and then you'd know where that is. You go, okay, I know where that is. That's kind of my idea, is for it could start sort of somewhere else and then have kind of this path that goes to the place. But we'll refine it. This is just, we're just spitballing. Yeah, Null Terminate, if you're I'm not sure where the best social media for you to DM me is, but Reddit, what is it, Hexed? I'm either Hexed Press or Hexed Pressman, pretty much everywhere. Twitter, Hexed Pressman, I think on Reddit, Hexed Pressman. There's no DMing in YouTube. Or you can go to forums.hex.press and do that there. But yeah, if you anywhere you could do that, that'd be great, because I'd love to see it. And let me know, Null Terminating, your message, if it's okay if I share it like on stream, or if it's something that's just for me to see. Just let me know so that I don't step on your toes if I were to share it. Oh, awesome. Send me Reddit. Cool. I will check it in afterwards. And yeah, just shoot me a line, Null Terminated, if it thumbs up or thumbs down, and if I can share it with everybody, or how you want to do it. You let me know, because it's yours. All right. So the starting location, yeah, somewhere. And then the ending location is, I'm not sure how to do this. We could do something like a D20 for how many hexes away. I don't want that, seems to be too much. We'll say 1d8 hexes away. Probably do some kind of drunkard's walk or something. Yeah, I'll have to come up with a procedure, because maybe a drunkard's walk type thing would be good. Okay, I can share. Great. So we'll take, for the map generator, we'll starting location, and then ending location so many hexes away, and then for each hex that the map travels through, we'll establish a landmark for that hex. A landmark for that hex. Null Terminator says, honestly, some of it was ripped from places like the D30 Companion. I mean, that's what everybody does. So do not feel ashamed in grabbing something off a resource that you like. As I'm opening the window, it's a bit hot in here. It's a lovely day, actually, and I just haven't been outside much yet, though. Okay, so for each hex that map travels through, we'll establish a landmark for that hex. I think that's enough. And then ending location is a secret in a hex 1d8 hexes away. Something like that. And then we can think about what landmarks. Oh, I keep opening up new boxes when it's not really my intention, but that's all right. I will use them all eventually. So we got types of landmarks. One would be a geological formation, something like, that could be a big hill, a chasm, anything. I feel like anything that's kind of like the earth rising up, right? If there's water or something similar, that would be another type of thing. A natural, a natural phenomenon might be, a particular grove of trees, and then a settlement of some kind would be another one. If there's any other, am I missing anything? What the landmark could be? I'll put unnatural. It doesn't have to be natural, but it's just, well, I'm thinking for the landmark. So what a landmark is, in my usage, it's not necessarily something you're going to see, because you just don't always have the capability of seeing it. If you're in a forest hex, if you think about it, well, what could you possibly see? You just don't have line of sight that far because of all the trees. You just can't. There could be some huge statue not that far away from you, as an example, which if you were in a field, a grassy plain that was flat, you could see that statue for miles. But if you're in a forest hex, you're only going to see it either if you enter a clearing and it is really big, so that it's above the tree line, right? And maybe you have some elevation or whatnot, or if you climb a tree to see it, or if you happen to get close enough to it where it kind of breaks through. But so it's not always that it's necessarily visible for miles, though it could be. Of course, even if you're say in a flat plain, there might be a big crater or a huge crevasse that cuts it. You're not going to see it because it doesn't break your plane. It's the land's going down, but all you're going to see is just kind of flat to flat. And even though there's a big break here in between, it's not noticeable. But what the landmark is it's the thing that locals are going to, if you were local there, that you would reference, because you would be aware of it. That being, if you were local to the place, you would know it. So if you lived in that forest hex, you would know about that statue. If you lived in the plains hex with a ravine, you would know about the ravine. So it's the thing that locals would reference. So if you lived in that forest and someone's asking you directions, you would say, okay, go to the statue, and then it's X amount away, because it's kind of it's the thing that is most unique and sets it apart from other woods, right? If you just say go to the tree and turn left, well, there's a million trees. Where am I supposed to turn? But you say go to the statue, and they're like, okay, we can use that. It gets that thing that locals, because they know about it, can do it. Same thing. Okay, go to the ravine and then follow it until you get to where it's shallow, whatever, then do this, that, and the other. Okay, bam, great. Another local's going to go like, I got you. Now someone not from there is going to go, well, how do I get to the ravine? And someone will just say, just keep walking till you can't walk anymore, going west, and you'll hit it. But that's what it is. So I'm just trying to categorize them into the most broad spectrum of things. So geological formation, I could include, I suppose I could include water in the geological formation. I guess maybe I will. Maybe I want a D6. I have natural phenomenon, settlements. Yeah, I'll put cultural monuments, because I really just kind of mean them to be there. Notable creatures, that would be in a sort of phenomena. I would have that in kind of natural phenomena. You're sort of where there's if there's a particular, I mean, there's going to be some blending, right? Because a water site would be something like a watering hole where creatures gather. That would be a water site. I could put that under geological formation, or I could, you could probably make an argument that should be under natural phenomena. I'm just because I'll probably have these will probably break up into, so like there'll be a sub table here, and stop you, yeah, there we go. So under formations, we'll have, hills, cliffs. We'll have valleys. I spelled valleys wrong. Valleys. Don't tell me, says, do I want to flesh these lambs out a bit, or are they going to be hand wavy? I think what I'm going to do. So my idea with the landmarks and things is, especially when we're coming up on the first time, that's where we're going to lean on some of the mythic tables, some of these descriptors to flesh out what the landmark is. So I'll use some tabular. We'll do some table stuff here, figure out, well, what is it? So let's just say, for example, right? Okay, we get our first treasure map, or we just decide to leave the hex of town, the town hex. We go into the neighboring hex, that's forest. We'll roll to see what the landmark is. Okay, it's something here, it's something there. We should probably always have some kind of wild card for, unusual, as opposed to something that's strictly mundane and natural. So we get unusual, we get something, and then maybe flesh it out using like, okay, well, what is it? And then we could roll on these descriptor tables and elements and all these things to come up with how they, what's special or interesting about them. And I really did like that when we were playing Dragonbane. I really enjoyed that, of grabbing something from those Dragonbane inspiration lists. I thought they came up with neat stuff and saying, oh, okay, well, that's interesting. We got, this hill that's here, and then we roll up and we get, kill ancient creatures. Like, ooh, what does that mean? Like that to me is cool. So those will be used to kind of flesh out, maybe help build out the lore. We can really think of different ways to use some of that inspirational material once we start rolling it up. Let's see, hills, cliffs, valleys, crevasses. What else could there be? So hills, right? Hills, valleys. What other kind of natural phenomena do we have? Some kind of, I don't know, is it with like a Badlands or something of that nature? Would that be helpful? And then maybe just put unusual. That does mean, we'll have to play around the numbers, because some of these mean that we would, sinkhole, I would put in that kind of valley, crevasse kind of thing. Could be Badlands too. I don't know. But yeah, it could be sinkholes or depressions. Could be separate. I'll leave it like that. But yeah, I figure like those kinds of, really, when I mean these two hills, cliffs, and valleys, crevasses, are really like, is there an unusual, or is there unusual? Is there a sort of a positive altitude kind of change thing, or a negative altitude change? If it's a positive thing, hill, cliff, tor, mesa, whatever, something, something big, if going up. If it's a valley, crevasse, sinkhole, whatever, something going down. Yeah, I mean, these are going to be like, everything we're doing is not supposed to be super detailed, because yes, we're going to take our cues from the books. I'll have to go through Ready Reference Sheets and the D30. They have big tables that can help kind of flesh these out. But it's meant to just give, we're going to riff on all this stuff, right? We're going to be playing. This is all basically to give an idea. Okay, if we're in a grassland and we come across a hill that'll probably just be kind of, it's probably a hill, and it's probably not a volcano. It's probably not a mesa. I don't know if in the plains how many mesas there are, but probably not. If it's a southwestern deserty region and we get a hill, maybe we think, maybe that is some kind of mesa. Or if it's something else, oh, maybe a cliff makes more sense. Maybe we've been in kind of a canyon area, so to speak. So they're not meant to be super determinate. They're just meant, again, just to kind of steer us towards where we go. And we can always use the yes/no oracles to determine, hey, what is this? Is it tall? Is it short? Is it steep? Is it shallow? All those kinds of questions. So I suppose now if I I probably could, maybe I'll do D6. Let me see. What if I get rid of water site here and just have that under geological? Four. Oops. I didn't mean to do that. Settlement. So we could put here. Could put let's see. Water. Okay. So yeah, I added water to the geological formations, kind of flesh it out to, hills or cliffs, valleys, crevasses, badlands, which is just like unusual, not unusual, but just broken lands. Oh, a body of water or moving water. So, a body of water would be what could be wetlands, lake, pond, tarn. Moving water, stream, brook, river, etc. Smaller, right? Because we would want the main, our major rivers are going to be defined on our hex map. So this is not going to, the Mississippi would not be rolled up this way. The Mississippi would be defined on our hex map. It's big enough. These are for all the kind of smaller sorts of things. Let's see. So what I was going to look at here was, what was I going to do? Well, we can do settlements. One outpost, 2 hamlet, 3 village, 4. Actually, I'll put town and I'll put hamlet village together. I don't differentiate them enough. 3 town, 4 city, 5 stronghold, 6 unusual. So, okay, so for settlements, we've got outpost, hamlet or village, town. Outpost could also be just a lonely farm thing. If you're running up into a hamlet or village that's in the middle of nowhere with no support, that would be weird. Might need to refigure that, because if you, it'd be like the Children of the Damned or the Village of the Damned or something. Children of the Damned too. Village of the Damned type situation. If it was just like, oh, this village is totally unprotected out in the middle of the wilderness. Yeah, your sixth sense of something creepy is going on should definitely go off. And let me just see if can we manage one more? I guess we can do water bodies. Wetlands, and that would be, swamp, bog, etc. Pond, lake. Multiverse is also homesteaders, hermits, and the like. Not sure if they would count as settlements. They would probably, that'd be an outpost. An outpost is a catch-all for somebody out there alone. It sounds military, and it could be something, but that's just my catch-all for any isolated, hermit, hunter, anything. anything at all. I mean, I'm not sure. Probably come up with some other things for water bodies. Maybe not. I'm just doing these 1, 2, 3, 4. But we can weigh. I'm thinking mostly D6 mechanic. Doesn't have to be, but that's my just thought. So if we really there's just not a lot like here, we just can't think of anything else, and we can weigh these up. But I don't have a good way of doing it in this Ouija setup. It doesn't have real tables, so I'm just doing these lists. So I'm kind of limited to doing one per number. So yeah, so let's just it's because we were just thinking about it. Let's just do outposts. One would be a watchtower, 2 hermit, 3 hunter. There are 4 isolated farmstead. Let's see, hermit, hunter-gatherer, isolated farmstead, an outcast, unusual. And then ruins would be under what did I have it here? Under cultural monuments. So those would be things like let's see. Like border markers. Also things like burial grounds. Settlement ruins. Stronghold ruins. But religious ruins. And then our lovely little catch-all for unusual. I don't know how we're going to do unusual for all these different ones. I wonder if that will just go to a big table. And then let's see. What do we have? What else do we have? I gotta hop off momentarily. I figure we're on a roll, so might as well keep on rolling. So we've got our landmarks. We did settlements, geological formations, cultural monuments. We got natural phenomena, which we haven't touched yet. Natural phenomena. Let's see what it would be like. Breeding grounds. Oops. Feeding grounds. Migration. I'm saying migration and game trails again, and I'm not trying to just to pretend like I really know very much about that. But I presume that these would be, where you have vast herds of animals moving through. They use, at least on the nature programs, always seem to suggest that they use the same ways over and over again. So that would be kind of that thing. So it would be just bigger than your ye old average game trails where like lots and lots of animals have passed. A waterfall. I like that. Good call there. I'm not sure. So breeding grounds, feeding grounds. Migration, migratory, maybe. Better than migration, migratory game trails. I'm not sure. I'll throw unusual in there, our lovely catch-all. Oh, I think that's a pretty good start in terms of stuff. I think, right? So we would pick, and I'll have to clean up our map, but just to kind of put this in relief, the kind of thing that we're doing is, let's just say, for example, we're starting here. We'd roll for a treasure map, and the treasure map might say, okay, it's 4 hexes away, and we do figure out some way to determine where it is. You know, 1, 2, whatever. We go 1, 2, 3, 4, however this works. Then for each one of these hexes that passes through, we would roll for that landmark, and then we'd roll, figure out, oh, okay, it's figure all those out. We do that for each one, and then this would be translate into the treasure map having either words or some kind of picked, drawn in the cartography, or anything that would indicate, okay, you go here till you get the waterfall, then you turn to the east and you're going to go until you find the ruined town of Blue, and then you're going to do this and that and the other. Great. And then when you finally get to the hex, there'll be a landmark there too, and then that will be the secret location, will be that dungeon or whatever that location that's in the treasure map. So you would go boom, 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 and then this way we'll populate all these out. Now, the thing is, we'll have to remember is when there are future treasure maps, let's say coming out here, we wouldn't roll for a new landmark. Like, we would use that same landmark and then go there. So we'll have to flesh out the system a little bit to account for places we've seen. Maybe you only start rolling new locations when you get out of sort of bounds what we already know. There's probably something like that we can do. But this map, don't think of it as final. We're going to be going through it. I'm starting to put together the stuff here. Right now, I've got the ready reference sheets. I've got the DMG first edition, got the OD&D books 1, 2, and 3. I've got these reference sheets. We've got our just very generic procedure. We've got Mythic over here that we'll be leaning on as our Oracle. And we got at least roughly our hex map. Let's see. Nicholas says, this might be besides the point, but I've been considering adding raw natural resources like an ore vein that you could discover and choose to build a mine around, like outpost management. I am totally down with that. I think I've been thinking about that just in general. I don't think I need it from jump. I think that's something. So here's my thought on that at the moment, which could change tomorrow. But my thought is that I don't feel like you need to do that out of the box. Because generally, if I'm following a treasure map, let's say I'm an adventurer and I'm going off to the treasure map, I'm not looking for ore. I'm not going to find it. I don't even know what it looks like. I'm not educated enough in mining to be able to tell you. And it's not my interest. It's not my specialty, not what I'm good at. It's not something I know about. So what I'm going to think right now is what I would do is much like if you're going to have a mapper type, right? Whoever's going out and doing these treasure maps, you can have surveyors. And I would have surveyors as hirelings that you can hire at some stage to go to a piece of terrain and determine how rich it is in actual resources. And that to me would be something that once you're starting down that path of domain management and you feel like you're either looking for somewhere to buy or get your plot of land from, or if you have a grant, if someone granted you this piece of property over here, okay, now we're going to go and check it out. That's when you would do that. Because I would also think that before you could properly survey it, you need to be able to essentially have it cleared out, right? It needs to be it needs to be pacified, needs to be settled. I don't know whatever the best word for it is. It needs to be made safe so that a surveyor who's not an armed warrior, not going to be traveling with a bunch of warriors, can do that. So I look at it like on that, if you were going to make a step-by-step of prepping for your domain, clearing the land, and then surveying would probably come after clearing it. That you could make an argument. You could probably do some things with rolling dice, saying, well, I need to know before I clear it because I'm not sure I want it. So, okay, then maybe you have to send out X amount of armed men with your surveyor. Maybe they can keep them safe, but that's where I would do it. So I wouldn't worry about making them all up front. What I would look at is maybe you look at the terrain. You're like, hills, water. Could there be, this is the kind of place that often there's gold, silver, potentially running in there. So there be, and then when you think as a player, or in this case player / GM, like I'm interested in that, then you can use the Oracle. You could use a surveyor NPC to come in and say, okay, I found, look at this. Let's just zoom in here. Oh, I found this area here. I feel like this might be, especially maybe this hilly area, this might be where there could be some ore action. I make that decision as a player, then I undertake actions, and then I can roll dice to figure it out. And so I'm not going and spending a lot of time for 50 hexes rolling up raw materials. It's when I pretty much decide to engage with that, then I can figure that out. And that way too, in terms of surprise, you get to be surprised about it. And it's not like, ooh, I've already got some idea, even if I don't mean to use it, of which the best hexes of these 100 hexes are in terms of stuff. Well, all right, folks. A good start. Let me know your ideas. I will be taking this stuff out at some point. I'm kind of behind a little bit in my moving stuff out of here, but I'm going to put it on the forums, forums.hexed.press. This is where we're going to be. That's where we're going to be doing a lot of our in-between stream resource gathering and figuring stuff out and all that good stuff. So if you want to participate, and I would love to have you because I really want to do this with participation. That's kind of the only good thing about streaming this, because it's so inefficient from an actual playing standpoint, is because I can do this with you guys and we can be a collaborative effort. And the forums is where that stuff's going to take place in between streams. So go over there and come and join us and do that. Other than that, we'll continue. We will pick up next time. We'll see what I'm able to get done between now and then. If you enjoyed this, you give a thumbs up on your way out. That'd be awesome. If you found yourself in here and you're not subscribed to the channel and you feel like subscribing, that would also be awesome. I'd love to have you. But other than that, folks, have a great rest of your day, night, whenever you end up watching or listening to this. Game on, everybody. And I'll talk to you later. Bye now.